Have you ever actually looked at your money? I don't mean checked your bank balance. I mean really looked at the physical cash in your wallet. Because here's something wild. Most of your money doesn't exist. Not in any physical form you can touch. The numbers in your bank account? They're just that. Numbers. Digital entries in a computer system. Here's what nobody tells you. Over 90% of all money in the world today exists only as data. Not coins, not bills, just information stored on servers. And this happens so gradually, so quietly, that most people never even noticed. We went from carrying cash everywhere to tapping cards and phones, from counting bills to checking apps, and in the process, money itself fundamentally changed. Here at Simple Money, we've been tracking how this transformation affects everyday people's relationship with money. And today, I'm going to reveal how modern money became mostly digital, why it matters more than you think, and what it means for your financial future. Once you understand this shift, you'll never think about money the same way again. So here's what's really happening with money in the modern world. Think about your great-grandparents. When they got paid, they received actual cash, physical bills and coins. They could see their wealth, touch it, count it. If they wanted to buy something, they handed over real money. The transaction was tangible, concrete. You could literally watch money change hands. Now think about your life today. Your paycheck? Direct deposit. Numbers appear in your account. You buy coffee? Tap your card or phone. Numbers decrease in your account. You pay rent? Electronic transfer. More numbers moving between accounts. You might go weeks without touching physical cash, and yet you're using money constantly, every single day. Here's why this matters so much. Money used to be a physical thing you possessed. Now it's permission to access numbers in a database. This isn't just a technical change. It's a complete transformation in what money actually is. And this transformation happened for specific reasons, with specific consequences, most of which people never think about. The first thing you need to understand is what I call the convenience revolution. Cash was inconvenient. Let's be honest about that. You had to physically go to a bank or ATM to get it. You had to carry it around. You could lose it. It could be stolen. You had to count it out for purchases. Get change back. Keep track of bills and coins. It was slow, bulky, sometimes dirty. And if you needed to send money to someone far away, you were dealing with checks or money orders or wire transfers that took days. Digital money solved all of that, almost overnight. Suddenly you could pay for things instantly with a card, transfer money to anyone with a few taps, check your balance anytime. Never worry about having exact change. Pay bills automatically. It was faster, easier, cleaner, more convenient in every possible way. Think about it this way. Imagine trying to run your life today using only cash. You'd need to visit ATMs constantly, carry hundreds of dollars everywhere, plan every purchase around having enough bills, pay rent by physically handing cash to your landlord. It sounds exhausting. Because it is. Digital money removed all that friction, and once people experienced that convenience, there was no going back. But here's where it gets interesting. This convenience came with a trade-off. When money was physical, you had a visceral connection to it. You felt it leaving your hands. You saw your wallet getting lighter. Your brain registered spending as a real, tangible loss. But with digital money, spending becomes abstract. Numbers on a screen. No physical sensation. No tangible loss. Just typing in a password or tapping a card. This psychological shift matters more than most people realize. The second mechanism is what I call the banking evolution. Banks figured something out a long time ago. They didn't actually need to hold everyone's cash. Think about it. If you deposit $100, the bank doesn't put those exact bills in a vault with your name on it. They record that you have a $100 balance. That's it. Just a number in their system. And then they can lend that same $100 to someone else, who spends it, and it gets deposited somewhere, and lent again. The same 100 physical dollars creates much more than $100 worth of economic activity. This is called fractional reserve banking, and it's been happening for centuries, but it was limited by physical cash. If too many people wanted their money back at once, the system broke down. Banks would literally run out of bills to give people. Bank runs happened. People panicked. The system was fragile. Digital money changed everything. Now banks don't need much physical cash at all. Most transactions happen electronically. Money moves between accounts without anyone ever touching bills. The bank can operate with maybe 10% or less of deposits as actual cash. The rest exists only as numbers. And this makes the whole system more efficient, more profitable for banks, and more stable, as long as everyone believes those numbers represent real value. Think of it like a game of musical chairs. But instead of chairs, it's physical money. And instead of music, it's confidence in the system. As long as not everyone tries to grab physical cash at the same time, there are enough chairs for whoever needs one. But if confidence breaks and everyone rushes for cash simultaneously, there aren't nearly enough chairs to go around. Digital money works because we collectively agree to mostly stay seated and just trade promises about who gets which chair. But here's what most people don't realize. This system means that most money isn't created by governments printing bills. It's created by banks making loans. When a bank gives you a mortgage, they don't hand you physical cash. They credit your account with numbers. Those numbers didn't exist before. The bank essentially created them. And now they exist as digital money that you spend and someone else receives, and it becomes part of the money supply. This is how most money actually enters the economy. Through digital credit creation by banks. The third thing you need to understand is what I call the technology acceleration. Computers made digital money possible, but the internet made it inevitable. Suddenly, you could check your balance from anywhere, transfer money instantly, pay bills online. The infrastructure for a fully digital monetary system emerged almost by accident. It wasn't planned by some central authority. It evolved, organically, driven by technology and consumer behavior. Credit cards came first, then debit cards, then online banking, then payment apps, then mobile wallets, then contactless payments. Each step made digital transactions easier. Each step reduced reliance on cash, and each step generated data. Lots and lots of data. Because unlike cash, digital money leaves a trail. Every transaction is recorded, tracked, analyzed. This data became valuable, very valuable, to banks, to companies, to advertisers, to governments. So there was financial incentive to push people toward digital payments. Think about how payment technology evolved. In the 1950s, if you wanted to buy something, you needed cash. By the 80s, you might have a credit card, but many places didn't accept them. By the 2000s, cards were everywhere, and online shopping exploded. Today, you can pay for things by waving your phone. The entire transaction takes 2 seconds. You might not even pull your phone out of your pocket. That's how far we've come, and that's how normalized digital money has become. But here's where things get really interesting. This technology didn't just make existing money digital, it changed what money could be. Suddenly, you could have different types of money for different purposes. Reward points, store credit, digital gift cards, cryptocurrencies. Money-like things that exist only as data. The line between money and information became blurred. And this opened up entirely new possibilities and entirely new problems. The fourth mechanism is what I call the government advantage. Governments love digital money for very specific reasons. Physical cash is anonymous, untraceable. If I hand you a $20 bill, no one knows about that transaction except us. There's no record, no trail, no way for anyone to track it. This makes governments nervous because it means people can hide income, avoid taxes, engage in illegal transactions, and there's no way to monitor it. Digital money solves this problem. Every electronic transaction creates a record. Who sent money to whom, how much, when, what it was for. All of this information is stored permanently, and governments can access it. With the right legal authority, they can track money flows, find tax evaders, catch criminals, monitor economic activity. It's an unprecedented level of visibility into financial behavior. And from a government perspective, that's incredibly valuable. Think about tax collection. With cash, people can work under the table and never report income. Pay people in bills. No paper trail. No taxes collected. But with digital payments, every transaction is recorded. Governments can automatically track income, match it against tax returns, find discrepancies. Enforcement becomes much easier. And tax revenue goes up. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's basic incentive alignment. Governments benefit from digital money, so they encourage it. But here's what nobody wants to admit. This surveillance isn't just about taxes. It's about control. When all money is digital, governments can theoretically control access to it. Freeze accounts, block transactions, monitor spending patterns, track associations. This power didn't exist when money was physical. You can't freeze someone's cash. You can't stop them from spending bills they physically possess. But digital money? It exists at the pleasure of institutions, and those institutions answer to governments. This shift in power dynamics is profound and mostly unexamined. The fifth thing you need to understand is what I call the psychological disconnect. Here's a simple fact. People spend more with cards than with cash. This has been proven in study after study. When you hand over physical bills, your brain registers loss. You feel it. There's a psychological pain associated with parting with tangible money, but when you swipe a card or tap your phone, that pain is diminished, abstracted. The number in your account goes down, but you don't feel it the same way. This psychological phenomenon has massive implications. It means digital money makes people spend more freely, save less, carry more debt, because the friction is removed. The visceral feedback that helped regulate spending behavior is gone, and in its place is an abstract number that changes on a screen. Your brain doesn't process this the same way. It doesn't trigger the same caution, the same restraint, so you spend more easily, more frequently, more impulsively. Think about the last time you spent $50 in cash. You probably remember it. You felt those bills leave your hand. Now think about the last time you spent $50 digitally. Maybe yesterday? Last week? Can you even remember specifically what it was for? Probably not. Because digital spending doesn't create the same memory, the same psychological impact. It's just numbers changing. And that makes it easier to lose track, easier to overspend, easier to disconnect your spending from its consequences. But here's what makes this even more insidious. Companies know this. They design payment systems specifically to reduce friction, to make spending as easy and painless as possible. One-click checkout, saved payment information, automatic billing, tap to pay. Every innovation makes spending easier, more abstract, less psychologically painful. Because the easier it is to spend, the more people spend, and businesses profit. This isn't accidental, it's by design. Let me tell you about two people. We'll call them Marcus and Lisa. Both have similar incomes, similar expenses, but completely different relationships with money. And it all comes down to how they interact with digital versus physical money. Marcus is fully digital. He hasn't touched cash in months, maybe years. Everything goes on cards or mobile payment apps. His paycheck is directly deposited. His bills are auto-paid. He buys coffee with a tap, groceries with a card. Everything is seamless, frictionless, convenient. He checks his banking app occasionally, but honestly, he doesn't pay close attention. The numbers go up when he gets paid. They go down as he spends. It all just happens automatically. But here's what Marcus doesn't realize. He's spending about 20% more than he thinks he is. Those small purchases add up. $5 here, $15 there, $30 for lunch. Because it's all digital, he doesn't feel each transaction. They blend together. He's vaguely aware his account balance stays lower than he'd like, but he can't quite figure out where the money goes. It just disappears into the digital void. And every month, he wonders why he can't seem to save more, why he's always slightly stressed about money, why he feels like he makes decent money but has nothing to show for it. The digital nature of his money has disconnected him from his spending. He's lost the psychological feedback that physical cash provides, and it's costing him, not in any dramatic way, just in a steady leak of money that he can't see or feel. Death by 1,000 digital transactions, and he's not alone. Millions of people experience this same phenomenon. The convenience of digital money slowly eroding their financial awareness. Now, Lisa. She also uses digital payments for most things. She's not some cash-only extremist, but she does something different. Every Monday, she withdraws a specific amount of cash. Her spending money for the week, and she uses that cash for discretionary purchases. Coffee, lunch, small shopping, the everyday stuff that can easily add up. When the cash runs out, she stops spending on those categories. It's a hard limit. Physical, tangible. She can literally see how much she has left. For her essential bills and planned expenses, she uses digital payments. Those are tracked, budgeted, intentional. But for the stuff that can easily get out of control, she uses cash. Because cash makes her think twice. Every purchase requires a conscious decision. She sees the money leave her hand. Her wallet gets lighter, and this creates awareness, mindfulness, control. She's using the psychological impact of physical money as a tool to regulate her behavior in an increasingly digital world. The difference between Marcus and Lisa isn't willpower. It's not financial knowledge. It's not even income. It's awareness of how digital money affects psychology. Lisa understands that the form money takes shapes how we interact with it. Marcus treats digital and physical money as identical, just money. But they're not. They affect our brains differently, our behavior differently. And Lisa has hacked this by strategically using physical money where it provides psychological benefit, while still enjoying the convenience of digital money where appropriate. Here's what most people don't realize. The shift to digital money isn't just about technology. It's not just about convenience. It's about power, control, psychology, economics. The form money takes shape society in profound ways. And we've transitioned to a system where money exists primarily as data, as information, as numbers in databases controlled by institutions. This has advantages, enormous ones. The modern economy couldn't function with only physical money. Digital money enables global trade, instant transactions. Economic complexity? That would be impossible with cash. It's more efficient, more flexible, more scalable. These aren't small benefits. They're fundamental to how the modern world works. But it also has costs: surveillance, loss of privacy, disconnection from spending, dependence on institutions, vulnerability to system failures, risk of exclusion for those without access to banking. These aren't minor concerns. They're reshaping society in ways we're only beginning to understand, and most people aren't even aware it's happening. Because it happened gradually, invisibly, one convenient innovation at a time. The truth is, money has always been somewhat abstract. Even gold coins weren't valuable because of the metal itself. They were valuable because everyone agreed they were valuable. Money is social technology, a collective agreement about value and exchange. And that agreement has taken different forms throughout history: shells, salt, precious metals, paper backed by metal, paper backed by government promises, and now, digital entries backed by those same promises. What's different now is the complete lack of physical substance. When money was gold, you could at least hold the gold. When it was paper backed by gold, you could theoretically exchange the paper for metal. When it was just paper backed by government, you at least had the paper. Something physical, something you could possess independent of any institution. But digital money? It exists only within systems. Systems you don't control. Systems you depend on. Systems that can exclude you, monitor you, restrict you. That's fundamentally different. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people have no idea how vulnerable this makes them. Your money exists because a bank says it does. Because computer systems maintain records saying you have a certain balance. If those systems fail, if the bank makes an error, if your account gets frozen, if you're denied access for any reason, your money effectively ceases to exist. You can't just reach into your mattress and pull out cash, because your wealth isn't under your mattress. It's not anywhere physical. It's data, and data can be changed, deleted, or restricted. This doesn't mean the system is going to collapse. It won't. It's actually quite stable and robust. But it does mean the nature of monetary security has changed. You're not securing physical objects anymore. You're securing access to database entries. And that requires different thinking, different precautions, different awareness. Most people haven't updated their mental models to match this new reality. So what does this mean for you? Understanding that money is mostly digital changes how you should think about several things. First, it explains why spending feels different than it used to. Why it's easier to overspend. Why you lose track of purchases. The psychological disconnect is real, and recognizing it helps you compensate for it. Maybe by using cash strategically, like Lisa. Maybe by checking your accounts more frequently. Maybe by using apps that make digital spending more visible and tangible. The key is acknowledging that digital money affects your brain differently. Second, it means understanding where your money actually exists, in databases, maintained by institutions. This isn't bad, but it means your financial security depends on those institutions, on having access to them, on them maintaining accurate records, on systems functioning properly. So you need to take digital security seriously. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication, monitoring your accounts, understanding how to recover access if something goes wrong. Your money is only as secure as your access to it. Third, it means recognizing the trade-offs involved. Digital money is convenient, but it's not private. Every transaction leaves a trail. This matters if you value financial privacy, or if you're concerned about surveillance, or if you want some portion of your wealth to exist outside institutional systems. Physical cash still has a role, even in an increasingly digital world, because it provides properties that digital money doesn't. Anonymity, independence, tangibility, and sometimes those properties matter. Fourth, it means understanding how the system actually works. Most money is created by banks making loans, not by governments printing currency. This affects how the economy functions, how inflation works, how financial crises happen. Understanding the digital nature of money helps you understand these larger economic forces, and that helps you make better financial decisions, better predictions about the future, better positioning for your own financial success. The shift to digital money is one of the most significant financial changes in human history, but it happened so gradually that most people didn't notice. We went from occasionally using cards to almost never using cash. From checking our balance at ATMs to checking apps constantly. From money being a thing we possessed to being a number we're granted access to. And this transformation fundamentally changed our relationship with money, how we spend it, how we think about it, how we secure it, how institutions control it. But here's the thing, you can't reverse this change. And honestly, you probably don't want to. Digital money has too many advantages, too much convenience, too much functionality. The modern economy needs it. Your life is easier because of it. The question isn't whether to reject digital money. The question is how to navigate it wisely, how to enjoy the benefits while avoiding the pitfalls, how to maintain awareness in a system designed to be abstract and frictionless. Some people advocate for alternatives, cryptocurrency, gold, physical cash, and these have their place. But for most people, most of the time, you're going to use digital money. Because it's everywhere. It's how the system works. Fighting against it is exhausting and impractical. The better approach is understanding it, using it strategically, compensating for its psychological effects, and maintaining enough physical cash to have independence if systems fail or access is restricted. The people who thrive financially in the digital age aren't those who reject digital money. They're those who understand it, who recognize how it affects their psychology, who take appropriate security measures, who maintain some diversification between digital and physical assets, who use the convenience without falling into the spending traps, who enjoy the benefits while remaining aware of the costs. That's the balance. That's the wisdom. Because here's what it comes down to. Money is a tool. And like any tool, its form matters. A hammer works differently than a screwdriver. Physical money works differently than digital money. Not better or worse, just different. And understanding those differences lets you use each appropriately. Cash for psychological control and privacy, digital for convenience and functionality. The smart approach uses both strategically, based on the situation and your goals. The convenience revolution, the banking evolution, the technology acceleration, the government advantage, and the psychological disconnect. These 5 forces combine to transform money from physical objects to digital data. This transformation happened over decades, driven by technology, incentives, and consumer behavior. And it's largely complete. Most money is now digital, and that's not changing. The question is whether you understand the implications, whether you've updated your mental models, whether you're navigating this reality with wisdom. Your great-grandparents' relationship with money was fundamentally different from yours. They could see and touch their wealth. They experienced every transaction physically. They had independence from institutions in a way you don't, but they also lacked convenience, speed, global reach, protection from theft and loss. The trade-offs went both ways. You have advantages they didn't, and vulnerabilities they didn't. Different world, different money, different challenges. The question isn't whether digital money is good or bad. It's both. It's neither. It simply is. It's the reality you live in. And the question that matters is whether you're navigating that reality with open eyes, whether you understand what money actually is in the modern world, not coins or bills, data, numbers and systems, permission granted by institutions based on records they maintain, protected by security you partly control. This is your money. This is how it works. And understanding that clearly is the first step to using it wisely.